Well, good morning, good afternoon, and a good evening to all of you attending from all around the world. This is truly a pleasure having you tune in from either your private office within your home or from your office at the office to this very interesting and exciting webinar series. This is the webinar series that will take you further into the MES world, the manufacturing execution world, and hopefully you will enjoy this webinar series. My name is Michael Thiessen. I'm the sales manager at Tebis America. I have the privilege to be moderating this series for you. And on the other screen is my good friend and colleague, Marty Chaput, who will be providing you the know-how of what you need to know about what ProLeiS can deliver to you and, of course, to your company. Up front, a couple of items for you in order to manage the bandwidth issues with our internet service and all of this, and also to make sure that you have good visual connections. We, on our side, we will be turning off our webcams just after this brief introduction, so that you can really get pulled into the material that Marty has prepared for you. If you should have still poor audio connection or anything like that, then please feel free to also utilize the dial-in via the phone connection, which the number is displayed on your registration email for this particular webinar. For any questions that you may have throughout the webinar about the topics that Marty goes through, or some of the items that you see on the screen, I will be watching out for any questions that come in from you as the viewer, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of this webinar. Therefore, please utilize the question section on your panel, or even the chat feature that you see on the right side of your panel, to ask us any of your questions, and we will answer them as we see them at the end. A little bit about this webinar up front. I promise, Marty, I'm not giving away too much here, but today will be the first of 6 webinars that we'll be providing to you via this webinar medium over the next 6 weeks. We will do these in succession. We will start off with today's webinar as just a general introduction to the ProLeiS solution and what benefits this solution can provide to you. As we progress through the series, of course, you will learn all about what the solution has in store, all the intricacies that this item can provide to your company in regards to standardization options, performance monitoring, and et cetera, et cetera. And Marty will go more into these as the webinar will continue. Various companies around the world use MES, of course. To all of you who may not know what MES stands for, but it stands for Manufacturing Execution Systems, in order to improve your manufacturing processes and at the same time give you an increase of production capacities. Now, of course, I don't want to spill this anymore. This is Marty's job to pull you into the ProLeiS and the MES. Well, with that said, Marty, I'll hand it over to you, and you can start us off. Hopefully, you'll enjoy this particular webinar. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Michael. I'm going to, like you said, shut my webcam off now so everybody can see the media without bandwidth issues. And we'll get started into this webinar. So just a little bit about myself before we start. I've been in the manufacturing industry since I came out of high school into an apprenticeship program. I grew up around machines on a small farm. My dad's also a tool and die maker, so it's kind of in my blood. I've had quite a background in diversity of molds, dies, fixturing, layout tools, nickel shells, and I really have a passion for an MES solution to help the execution of manufacturing. So enough about me. Let's get started. We're going to jump into, pardon me here. Jump into the agenda here. And first, we're going to go through what ProLeiS is and how it can benefit your company. We'll take an overview of some of the current ProLeiS customers, explain to you what the open integration platform consists of, show a brief planning example, and we'll look at the Smart Factory app a little bit of software before we conclude. So as we can see here, ProLeiS is a complete MES solution. I brought up this description from MES International, and that's a Manufacturing Enterprise Solutions Association. And if you look at the criteria listed here in their description, ProLeiS falls into all of them. Management of product definitions, resources, scheduling, and production processes, dispatching orders, making sure the materials at the shop at the right place at the right time, and the execution of production, collection of the production data, and performance analysis, as well as production track and trace. So that's just kind of, it's really hard to describe in MES because there's many different levels. Some will control just a machining cell, and that's not the case with ProLeiS. With ProLeiS, we're a complete solution, directly tying everybody in from design to manufacturing to the tryout to the ERP. And we'll get into those connections briefly here. So let's just break it down, exactly what ProLeiS is. Because this word is German acronyms, so we'll break it down here. So the Pro in ProLeiS stands for process and planning. And this is about categorizing your parts and standardizing single part production. That's pretty much the simplest description for the process in ProLeiS. And the LEI is about leading the manufacturing. So that includes scheduling and manufacturing, scheduling all resources in real time and accommodating for any changes that arise. As we know, there's sometimes mistakes that happen, have to be rescheduled, and this really allows for a flexible work plan and agile scheduling, which is another webinar that we'll be looking at in the future. So it provides clear work plans to the employees, provides the information at a single point access for the employees at their computers so they don't have to be running around the shop looking for information. You can track the progress of the manufacturing, the internal logistics. Are the parts here? Are they ready for assembly? Are they ready for spotting, for tryout? These are all things that are in the lead. And the S in ProLeiS stands for a control system. And this is all about optimizing your manufacturing processes and measuring performance, evaluating key performance indicators, focusing on your weaknesses in your manufacturing and finding solutions for those weaknesses. The quality management is also a big part of ProLeiS. And again, there's another separate webinar specifically on that topic. So here we're going to take a look at the collaboration of ProLeiS and Tebis. So ProLeiS was founded in '92, and ProLeiS and Tebis began collaboration in '98. And you can see this is with Volkswagen. So they've been working together quite a long time. You know, they have 22 years of collaboration with Volkswagen. So as time went on, Tebis acquired ProLeiS. And you may ask, well, why would they do such a thing? Well, Tebis has really strong CAM processes and automation, selecting tools automatically, really automation solutions for the CAM process. But to tie in the complete manufacturing process, that's why they acquired ProLeiS. So as you can see here, here's an example of manufacturing process with ProLeiS, and it covers everything right from the inquiry or the quote at the beginning until the delivery of the tool. And everything's tied into a database, and everybody has access all the way along the process to make sure that the information is transparent and that key performance indicators can be measured at the end of the manufacturing process. Now let's take a look at the customer relationships. Well, it's 22 years that the collaboration started with both Tebis and ProLeiS and Volkswagen. So that's a long-time customer for both companies. 2 years later, the collaboration began with BMW. So that's another very long relationship. 19 years with Audi. And these are all in Germany. So there is a very close collaboration and the ability to support properly and all the time. And you also see here 14 years with Mercedes-Benz, another long-lasting relationship. 2 years with Toyota Kentucky. This is the first implementation in America. And there's many more. I'm just gonna show the next slide here. It has quite a few of the current customers as well. And just to show the diversity of molders and die makers, you know, it's not for a specific market, but more for single part production. And ProLeiS has been around a long time and has been collaborating with these customers for a long time as well. So let's take a look at the product structure. On the lower level, this is the base system, and we're going to break this down and look at all the modules. So in the base system, we have the project structure, which is you know, inputting all your projects in such a manner to be organized. Permissions, controls, and configurations, all for your user-specific configurations, permissions, and you know, configuring the system. Next, we have the pre-planning module. You can see the darker blue here is a base module. The lighter colors in these modules are add-ons to the base. So you can see here in pre-planning, you have, pardon me, budget and capacity planning. And this is really to make sure that your shop is always full to its full capacity without going over, or looking at scenarios on you can see the next item here is make or buy simulation and scenarios and calculations. This is to see if you have the amount of work that you may look at outsourcing to another company without overloading your capacity and your shop's resources. Next is fine planning, bill of material management. This is to import an Excel spreadsheet. Fine planning and control is obviously to put a plan together for your processing and your standard parts in different categories. Workflow control to make sure that the process is going as planned. Manufacturing information, this I can't stress enough, is to have the information of the current status of manufacturing at everyone's fingertips throughout the company. You know, information transparency, which is key for a lean environment. And then you can see the add-ons here, the automatic capacity planning. This makes sure that all of your capacities are always leveled out and that nobody's over capacity, no resources, because the resources include not only the people in your shop, but also the machinery. So we have to make sure that everything is always leveled out and nobody's, you know, over capacity and other people under capacity. And this is automatic. The integrated procurement, this is to make sure everything is ordered on time and received on time. And this is all part of ProLeiS as well. The assembly engineering planning, of course, this is an add-on to the fine planning. And this is to include the assembly processes, not only for machining, but for completing the tools and putting them together and getting them to try out. And your engineering department can also be part of this. And parts production for quantities more than one. That's pretty self-explanatory on that one. Data management. This is covering office documents as a base. And then the add-ons, you can see here that the CAM documents and manufacturing data. So we're looking at NC programs, setup sheets, tool descriptions for the operators. Those kind of things are the manufacturing data, assembly instructions, things of that nature. The CAD structure documents, That's obviously to make sure that everybody has the correct information at the right time. The shop floor tool management, this here can send information to all of the centralized tool room, let's say, to make sure that tools can be prepared ahead of time. When a task is ready to be executed at a machine, the tooling will be ready. Next, we're going to look at the upper level of the product structure, and these are add-ons. So the quality management, a very important module here. The base module is for reporting quality issues or incidents and making sure that everything is documented. And the add-ons here is to categorize the incidents and apply corrective actions to them. The next one, rework time tracking, is to make sure that unproductive time is captured so you can focus on your biggest issues when it comes to quality and where you're spending the most time. Tryout and quality loop, this is to identify the most common quality issues so that you can put corrective actions in place for that. Operation time data. So this here at the base, the manual time tracking for personnel and machines and time tracking management. This here allows management an overview of the trackings and the ability to edit them and manage them from a management level. The add-ons here, employee workforce planning. This is again making sure that people are available, the resources are used to their full capacity at all times. The employee HR interface allows ProLeiS to understand when vacations are happening, when there's time off for whatever reason it might be, and allows a reflection of that in the resource calendars, again, to make sure that capacities are true. MDA and machine utilization. MDA is machine data acquisition, and this is to monitor the machines and their utilization. And automatic time tracking for machines. This will take the time spent on a task and apply it to an actual order number and transfer that to the ERP system. Next is the internal logistics, and this is very key to making sure things are at the right place at the right time. Storage locations and scanning. When there's an incoming piece, raw material, it can be scanned, the location could be scanned, and then that's automatically input into ProLeiS so that ProLeiS knows where everything is at all times. And logistics controls creates a task list in order of priority for the logistics personnel to move things around, or you can have let's say the leader of a cell or different resources within a cell that'll be notified. Virtual factory layout is a smart factory with information galore. We're going to take a look at that at the end of this webinar. And the warehouse management is to know what's in storage locations, consumables, and keep track of the quantities in stock. And next is the interface ProLeiS gateway. These are interfaces to the ERP and PDM. As you can see, there's quite a few functions for the ERP side here, the first three items. And the PDM documents is for storage of office documents and whatnot for the product data. All right, moving on here. That's the product structure. Now we're going to take a look at the home page in ProLeiS. As you can see here, there's different colors available. They're fully customizable. You can see in the small video here, moving different apps around, changing the size. You can collapse them. And every home page is specific to the user. So each user can move their icons however they like, and next time they log in, it's exactly the same. So next, let's take a look at the controlling apps. There's 8 controlling apps. The first one is a dashboard for machinery. And that's an overview of the machine schedule adherence, real-time machine data. There's very much information about all the machinery that's available here, utilization and whatnot. Next, we have the milestone monitor. So this is an overview of the milestone schedule adherence, real-time milestone progression, history of milestones, if they've been changed. There's lots of information all about the milestones of the specific project or tool that you're looking at. Next, we have the project overview, and it's almost the same idea as the milestones, but more on the project level. Looking at schedule adherence again, real-time status of a project, project quality issues, documents, everything to do with a project is filterable there. And the foreman dashboard, this is more of a management manager tool, and it allows to monitor a specific department, resources, and also you can drill down and filter by project if you want in your own department with this foreman dashboard app. Next is the manufacturing data manager. And here is where you enter, the employees enter their time, and you can overlook or overview the entries, alter them if necessary before transferring to the ERP. And you can also filter by resource and dates, and you can really drill down to a specific entry if you're looking for it. And here we have the PSE monitor. The PSE is a ProLeiS structure element, which is typically a bill of material item or an assembly item. And in here we get the milestone status, and this is more specific to a tool instead of a project. A project can consist of different tools or many tools together. This is really drilling down to a specific tool. Quality status, delivery assembly status, documents, and much more. Here we have the process controller, a very powerful app. This is where capacity planning, a lot of capacity planning at a pre-planning level happens. You can really look at different scenarios. In here you have a lot of real-time reports as well that can be filtered by project, by time intervals, whatnot. And you know, you can look at the target versus plan versus actual times, cost, workload heat maps, make sure you're not overloaded in one department. Do some scenarios for capacity planning, resource utilization, schedule adherence, cost analysis, machine and man hours, and there's many reports available here and also customizable. Here we have the operating data controller. This is an overview of costs and aggregated costs, and this is where the transfer happens to the ERP, and that's a push or pull scenario depending on how it is the interface is configured. So next, let's take a look at the Explorer apps. We have 5 apps for exploring. The Project Explorer is for browsing the projects and looking at information for the projects, lead contacts on the projects, the status of manufacturing, milestones, target versus actual documents, versions of the project, of files. There's much information in here on each project individually. Manufacturing Explorer is an overview of the manufacturing plan. It's real-time status, documents are there as well. Delivery assembly status, you can actually map out the plan and the process and make sure that everything is going according to plan. It can also be modified if necessary. Personal work plan is really a key app for a lot of the personnel because it's user-specific work plan, and all of your tasks are listed in there. And the information is a task ready to start. Where is the work piece, the target dates, what's the amount of time that's allowed or that was scheduled for this task, the work calendar for that resource. So if I'm, let's say, an assembler, I can look at the calendar and know what I'm expected to work and not have to go and ask my foreman all the time. It's always updated in a ProLeiS resource calendar. So a very powerful app for making sure that people know what they need to do and what's ready to be worked on and what's not ready. Next here we have the My ProLeiS, and it's kind of a project explorer in a way for your favorites. So you can add favorites if you know that you're working on specific tools and those are really the main focus right now. You can just add them as favorites and jump into your My ProLeiS app here and drill right down into the information on those specific tools instead of having to go look through other projects and other tools. And really a lot of information in here as well. All the task information and project information is here as well. Next, we have the resource monitor, and that's resource specific overviews. You can look at all the tasks that are scheduled to those resources. Task information is all there, the status, predecessors, successors, targeted work time. There's lots of information on all the tasks that have to do with resources and the resources themselves and their calendar. So we make sure that capacities are being utilized to their maximum. Next, let's take a look at the planning apps. In the planning apps here, we have the manufacturing controller. And the manufacturing controller is where most of the scheduling happens. This is capacity leveling, resource assignments to tasks. This can be automated by skills. Tasks can be assigned skills and resources that are capable of doing those specific tasks according to the skills. Auto scheduling, you hit a button and it schedules the task as best as it can and pushes out the things it needs to, and then you can have an overview and decide if the schedule is okay. You can adjust it a little bit if you need to. You have a lot of power on the scheduling of the manufacturing process. Task information galore in this app. You can really see everything to do, all the information that's pertinent to each task individually. And capacity loads can be displayed for any resource, whether it be machines or people. This is all very transparent in the manufacturing controller app. Next, we have the manufacturing structure modeler, and this is utilized to make sure that assemblies are being manufactured properly or the process is correct. So that, let's say that would be bringing multiple bill of material items together for an assembly machining. And this can also be driven by templates, and it's very user-friendly. Next, we have the manufacturing planner. The planning of the processes, there's templates that can be applied in here. You can drill down to adding lower level task operations to book time to, whether it be spotting or grinding or deburring or setting up a machine. This can all be captured at that level. And detailed information of every task in the planning chain is here. You can see the planning chain. You can make changes if necessary, if you need to add a step in, whatnot. This is where you go for all of the manufacturing planning of that nature. Next, we have the project planner, and the project planner is really a milestone level app to be able to shift projects or milestones around individually. A lot of this can be to alleviate capacity issues, should you run into any. Monitor the history of any milestones to see if they've been changed in the past or how you're doing on them, the status, the budget values, and an overview of the manufacturing of the milestones. Next, we have the shop floor controller app. And this app here is really geared towards connecting Tebis to your centralized tool room and the machines themselves, the machine tool magazines, and creating logistics tasks to make sure that the machine tools are delivered to the machine before the task is ready for execution. Next, let's take a look at the Document Manager app. And with this app here, the Document Manager, you can manage CAD files and Office documents. There's also file versioning. If you need to update a file, it will automatically version up to the next number. You can look at the file history. You can see who's got a file checked out, who's working on what. So if there's a new version to be issued, it's very easy to trace down who's working on it. NC programs are also managed in the Document Manager. Importing a PDI document from the design file structure. This is something for the interface with NX and CATIA, which will take the layer structure within the design and import it directly into ProLeiS so that you don't have to organize the structure. Next, let's take a look at the logistic apps. Here we have 5 apps for logistics. The first one is a smart factory controller, and this is a real-time plant information, resources, logistics, storage, utilization, resource calendars. We're going to take a look at that later on, so I won't spend too much time on it here. Warehouse management, an overview of storage areas and contents. And here you can move things from one storage area to the next by creating an ad hoc task, logistics task, manage locations of items. Yeah, powerful tool for that. Here we have the incoming goods app, and this is for really receiving management, be able to scan items to locations for logistics, to know when a part has arrived at the shop and where it's at. Next, we have the Scanner 4.0 app, and this is really to scan a barcode. Barcodes are created automatically by ProLeiS, and you can print off the label. You get a label printer, put it on the part, and when you scan the part, you'll have all the information about that part. Next, we have the logistics transports, and this is about the task management for logistics, and really to show the logistics personnel where everything is and what the order of priority is for moving to the next staging area. So if something finishes in machining, there'll be a task created to bring it to assembly. Once it's at assembly and it's finished, there'll be a task to bring it to tryout, of that nature. So it's just getting everything at the right place at the right time. Next is the quality management apps. We'll start with the QC assignment. QC for quality control, obviously. Assign incidents to a specific problem. So, and this is really about capturing all the information with quality issues and attaching documents and pictures if necessary, and further investigating into the quality issue. QC incidents is manage the incidents, which incidents are quality issues that are documented. You can add documentation pictures directly from a tablet. You can see time trackings that are booked on the incident to see how much time is actually rework time. Status of incidents, if they're closed or if they're still being worked on, etc. Next is a QC problems. And the problems category are really the causers of the incidents. So it allows you to have maybe an immediate measure to get the process going again, and then you can look into the problem and drill down into it to find a root cause. So you can also set deadlines for the resolution of an incident or a problem. And the QC measure assignment is to assign a corrective action to a problem and assign a responsible individual to a problem, do a root cause analysis, and hopefully be able to avoid these specific quality problems in the future. QC measures is management of corrective actions. Documents can be attached here. You can set deadlines, descriptions, and it's something to always go back to be able to find the root causes and your weaknesses and your quality issues. Next, we have the procurement apps. The procurement manager is the management of any items that require procurement. You can have some automation and purchase requisitions, RFQs, if you need to send out for quotes, deadlines for procurement, detailed information about the procurement tasks as well. Again, making sure everything's at the right place at the right time and received. The overview of purchase orders here for the Order Explorer app. Detailed information about the project, deadline, status, ERP details, and much more. Here we have the overview request of and offers and orders. So this is, as it's stated, the overview of these items. And there's detailed information. Many filters can be applied as well, so you can really drill down and find what you're looking for if there's an issue. Here we have the address manager, and this is address management for suppliers, supplier details, contacts. Here we have the PBO controller. PBO is a ProLeiS business object, and it's really an overview of those objects. You can set the parcel delivered in this app, set an expected delivery date once you hear from your supplier. You can set a supplier to a specific business object, look at the history, add documents, and there's much more functionality in there as well. Next, we're going to look at the ProLeiS apps. We have an attendance app here, and this really tells you who is currently in the plant. It's resource and user specific attendance, history, punch in, punch out times, and it's an interface to your workforce management that allows this information to be transparent. And again, this is more of probably a manager tool. Next up here, we have the edit raw material measures. So as you receive raw materials, you can enter the actual dimensions of that raw material so that programmer is aware. Here we have the Web Explorer, and again, that's just Web Explorer. It's optional. Next here, we have the administration apps. We have a messenger app here to keep your workforce connected. There's messenger history, and it's really about just keeping that communication line open. And the ProLeiS administration app. This is for all configurations and key user within your company that can have access to these configurations. That's about it for the apps. Now we're going to look at the open integration platform just to get a better understanding of this. So the first interface that we're going to look at is the ERP for connecting you to purchasing, and HR is your enterprise. Next, we're looking at the design interfaces. CATIA and NX have a pretty good interface for bringing in the structure and everything as we talked about. If not, we can import an Excel spreadsheet, bill of material. And the PDM document server for CAD files and Office documents. There's a little illustration here, a little video to show how you can't check out a file or you can't work on something when somebody else is working on it. So it's really to maintain your data integrity. And that's on a centralized server as well. And here we have the CAM interface with Tebis. Tebis has a beautiful interface with ProLeiS. We're going to look that up in our next webinar. Shop floor tool management, Zoller interface. From Tebis, you can send tool orders directly to a centralized tool room and have them delivered to the machine. And the MDA, which is machine data acquisition, utilization, the ability to be able to analyze your utilization and perhaps optimize it. And we can also embed a CAD file viewer for assembly teams to make sure that they have all the information they need. For example, the NX JT2Go, CATIA viewer, there's many viewers out there. Logistics, a scanner, you can use a phone to scan the barcodes as well. There's a few different ways to go about that. And to keep their personnel time tracking in check and an overview. Consumables, inventory management, storage locations, etc. and any custom interface can be developed as well. Here we're just showing the importance of having the database sharing all the information for scheduling. And it's really important in a dynamic manufacturing environment. As things change, they're changed in real time across the enterprise. So everybody has access to the same information. It's not just Excel sheets being tossed around in the shop, on the shop floor for scheduling. It provides accurate capacity planning with real-time data, resource, actual capacities. Client connections allow information transparency from a single point connection. So even in a remote application, if you're working from home, you'll have this information accessible. And here's just a quick demonstration of a planning example. We use the red light, green light, yellow light example. So here we're going to look at the machine's availability, look at the capacity. We'll take a task and put it into capacity and allow ourselves preparation time to get the task ready for the machine before the machine is actually available. So there's 3 prerequisites here. We have the NC programming, we have the tools, the procurement to make sure the raw materials are arrived. And as they arrive, you can see that the light turns green and the machine is ready to start that task. All the prerequisites are there. After it runs the task, we're able to capture the data and monitor, and then look at the utilization to do some optimization. And this is one of our last slides here. We're looking at this smart factory. Just going to take a quick look at this here, or jump into the software a little bit. You can see here we can manage the time intervals that we want to cover. You look at the different machines. As you click on a machine, you can see what's in that storage area and the staging area, and in the machine, you can see the different parts that are being worked on right now, anything that's in the finished area. If we click on here, you can see you can open it dynamically with many different apps to get more information on that specific tool. If we look here at the Manufacturing Explorer, you could see all of the items that are part of that specific tool. And here you can add descriptions, you have the resource information, capacity. Here you can see it's running pretty good on capacity. You can check another machine here. As you click on it, the live view is right there, real time on the right-hand side, the working calendar for the machine. So you can open the resource calendar and take a look at it. Here you can see that there's 2 shifts, 85 hours and the weekends. So you can look at all of the different schedules of the machine, of a specific resource. And here's the tasks that are scheduled for this machine. You can see there's quite a few, but they're red, so they're not ready. If they were ready, they would have a green light. Machine information is available here as well. You can see here that you can open again interactively into other apps. You can analyze the machine data. You can different time intervals. You can look at different calendars to show, productive or with overtime, different time intervals. There's a lot of flexibility here to be able to really analyze each machine individually. You can look at the utilization as well. We have unplanned time here. You can see in the tooltips as you hover over, run times, scheduled time, that's a resource calendar. Just a lot of good information here. And also you can see the feed rates that are programmed. This is live real-time machine values. You can see they're running at 100%. That's a great thing. You can see the program feed rates. These are the actual tool magazine in the machine. You can see the shared magazine on a cart maybe, centralized tool room here. And this is all information that you can edit. You can add new tools in. It really gives you a lot of flexibility from a CAM standpoint. You can see MDA statistics, machine webcam if you have one connected. Everything's available here. So that pretty much covers the smart factory. We don't have a whole lot of time left here, so we'll just move this one along. So in conclusion here, we're going to look at the benefits. Of course, the biggest concern is overall equipment efficiencies. And this is where ProLeiS really shines. Maximizing the throughput, again, falls into that same category about efficiencies. Getting a standard manufacturing process, enterprise connectivity, making sure everybody has the information at their fingertips. Quality assurance, looking at our weaknesses and fixing them and making them better. Centralized documents, so there's not local copies everywhere, and people are actually working on a single copy so that there's no errors in versions. Optimal resource scheduling, of course, capacity, planning accurately so that we're looking at the specific resources, the actual resource availabilities. And this all leads to on-time deliveries and happy customers. And you know, happy customers, they always come back. So we're just kind of an overview of the upcoming webinars here. The future webinar topics will be the Tebis user interface. That'll be next week at the same time, same place. We're going to go over that in detail. And ProLeiS Agile scheduling, we're going to show you how easy it is to manipulate the schedule and look at capacities. Capacity planning at a pre-planning level. So we can look at filling up the shop. This is more maybe at a project manager level. Reporting and measuring performance. We're going to look at all of these great reports that are available in real time. And also quality management. That's the last one that we have scheduled so far, but maybe we'll expand our topics if we get a lot of feedback and the need to do so. So at this point, we'll go over to question and answers here. And Mike will be moderating any questions coming in. So I'll turn it over to him for a minute.
Well, Marty, thank you for a very thorough look into ProLeiS and all the different functionalities that this particular product has in store. Obviously, the very first part of that series was more to give a very basic introduction of all the different modules that were inside this particular product. And as you can imagine, there's a lot to go over, and that's why we have created this mini series to dive more deeper into it. And as Marty already said, in the next 6 weeks, this will be coming up. Obviously, watch out for the invitation in that will be going out via email to all of you again, probably this afternoon. Register for this webinar, for the next webinar that's coming up. Time will be the same time, same day, essentially same batch channel, so to speak. Register for the event. Webinar is also going to be recorded, and you will then receive them. In regards to the question, Marty, there were a couple of them that came in. Let me say this. We have, the question was, we have an exciting MES, or an existing, MES for a machining cell in our company. Can we also connect ProLeiS to the machining cell, Marty?
Sorry, I was muted there. Yes, absolutely. We can interface. We've just collaborated with the supplier of that MES, and definitely a collaboration and interface is possible there. Okay,
good. The other question was, when you showed the smart factory video, this gentleman saw the machine tool magazines that were displayed, and the question was, what does ProLeiS have to do with the machine tooling?
Well, the machine magazines are displayed in Tebis during CAM programming, and we can create an order, a tool order, to be sent to a centralized tool room, let's say, and make sure that the tools are, first of all, available. And when that task is complete, it then allows the task to be released to the machine. Until the tools are prepared, then the task won't be released.
Okay. There's just one more that just came in. It says, what information is available through ProLeiS to an employee working remotely? Well, it's especially useful for working off-site right now.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. There's all the information that you would have, sitting in the shop in front of you in your computer, you can definitely have at home as well. So, even if you're working remotely, this is a perfect scenario that we're in right now as a demonstration, without having to be in contact with many people, like, let's say for incoming receiving, to say, okay, is a material at the shop, do we have a size on a material? Instead of having to go and measure it, it can be input right there as it gets received. That's a good example. Or if you're assembling a tool and you want to know if the machining is complete, it's all tracked and available. The information's at your fingertips there as well. So it really doesn't matter where you're at, as long as you have access to a ProLeiS client, you have all the information at your fingertips.
Okay. That seems like it's the last question that came in that we can go through. Obviously, this particular webinar has been recorded. You should receive the recording here in the next 24 hours from our system. If you should require any additional information, if that's about ProLeiS or about Tebis, then please visit our webpage, which you can see also on the on the page here, or the next slide here, specifically about the MES link. You can go and select this link and it gets you directly to our website and so forth. Or also, if you have additional questions, contact our representative offices, our Tebis offices in your area for more information. They'd be more than happy to give you additional information if you have any, if that is in the UK, if that's in Germany, or any of the other countries that you're joining from. Please get in contact with them. They can create a private presentation with you about ProLeiS and Tebis, of course, at your location. Well, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed just the very first session of ProLeiS. The next one will obviously go much deeper into the system, so you can see actually the system live. And hopefully we can see you back again next week. Thank you so much for joining, and this concludes then our webinar. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. Been a pleasure.